Hello, xin chào tất cả mọi người đang theo dõi video của kênh Hà Sa mình Cuộc Sống Úc. Hôm nay mình đến tham gia một buổi hội thảo sinh học ở một cái farm. Thì hôm nay sẽ đến nghe mọi người thảo luận về việc làm thế nào để bắt đầu một cái khu vườn trên một cái mảnh đất chỉ toàn là cỏ thôi đó mọi người. Mời mọi người cùng tiếp tục theo dõi video nha. Mọi người nhìn xem mấy đám cỏ nâu nâu á, nay nó chuyển sang một màu xanh như thế này luôn rồi mọi người. Nhìn mát ghê luôn á. In Australia, different from Asian country.
Yeah,
right?
but it grows here.
Grow here too?
Yeah, up in near Cairns, Tully.
The north of Queensland.
Yeah. Oh, this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. On most Australian, they don't like it,
They
right?
don't like
Just a few.
Yeah, because it's smelly, right?
Yeah. But if someone can eat it, they love it a lot.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
fruit from God.
I think some Asian shop they have it.
They have, yeah. You can get it in Brisbane, frozen, from
Yeah.
Malaysia. But it's $25 a kilo, $35 a kilo, whole.
Oh.
Love it. And when they said, oh, she's from Vietnam, I was like, oh, she will know. Hey, Joe.
Have you been in Vietnam before?
I've never been to Vietnam.
Yes.
I always wanted to go. Everyone says it's beautiful and friendly and nice. Everyone talks about the food in Vietnam.
Yeah. The food is nice.
What number is it? What we're going to do, I'll just give you an idea of what we're doing and then you can work out what you want to do.
Yep.
So we're talking about how to start a garden when it's just grass.
Yeah.
So see up there, it's like, okay, I want to start a vegetable garden like this. How do I start? And we're going to talk about what I'm doing up there,
Yeah.
which is one way to do that. I can speak about how she done this. So we're talking about how to start a garden
Yeah.
today. So maybe 1 hour. Thanks, man.
Mọi người đã có mặt để chút xíu nữa tham dự một cái buổi hội thảo sinh học làm thế nào để bắt đầu một cái khu vườn từ một cái mảnh đất toàn là cỏ không đó mọi người. Tỏi đó mọi người. Cũng có kha khá mọi người đến cùng xem cái buổi hội thảo này nè mọi người, để người ta học hỏi thêm á. Xem mấy cây này ở Việt Nam thì chắc mọi người cũng biết là nó làm cái gì rồi đúng không? Nó cào đất lên đó mọi người, xới đất lên, nó gọi là máy xới đó mọi người. Cái anh này anh sẽ xới đất lên để mình xem là cái lượng mưa mà mấy hôm trước nó mưa xuống nhiều á, thì để xem nó đã ướt đất đến khoảng nào.
Might get you to move in so I don't have to yell. We're just trying to stay huddled here. And this is, I was just saying to Tony, this is a chisel plough. And these, okay, I'll just so you know that by default. So this is a chisel plough. In biodynamics it's working with the soil. And you'll see that it's really hard. The soil's really hard. But these ploughs, they'll get down and they'll just open the soil. And the soil, with the right moisture and the right speed, which is crucial, the soil will open. So you don't want to be tearing soil. And you don't want to be pulverising it. You don't want to be slicing it and and creating smooth edges that cut off all the air capillaries of the soil. So it's like anything that requires the utmost care. Soil is exactly the same. If you want to stay in farm, it makes the call every time. So with this chisel plough, this will open the soil the way that it, and they've got their uses for sure. But as a primary cultivation, I would always go for a tined implement. So it's a rigid tine. I was saying to Tony, this one has a lot more tines, but because the tractor is like 30 or 40 horsepower and the soil's hard, tines on the back for this primary cultivation. And then once we've got that open, we'll add extra tines because we need to kill this grass. See, it's kind of regrowing. But it doesn't need deep cultivation, it needs shallow cultivation. So I'll just move the stuff around that's already up on the surface. And that'll eventually die. Yeah, we've been through that once. But it's just so hard, and it was really dry when we tried that and we persisted. And it'll need a couple of passes to really get it. With this tractor, you could go and get, 60, 80 horsepower tractor and really tear into it. So it hasn't gone too deep, but you can see the soil's crumbled. If you had more horsepower and a bigger plough, you could get that down deeper and you just watch the soil pop up. It's quite remarkable, but it all does it on its own lines. And we're working along the contours here. So with the right equipment and the right approach, moisture and speed, you can get a really effective primary cultivation. It's not so destructive on the soil. And we avoid pulverising or slicing. So this is all just fractured. There's no smooth edges on it. And that's what you want. You want that soil structure, because Alex Podolinsky, who brought biodynamics to Australia for agriculture, made the analogy that if you knock a house down without smashing the bricks, it's a lot easier to rebuild the house. So with gardening, we are destructive, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, but we can minimise the destruction on an upward trajectory. So it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We've always got the soil condition and the soil health in the forefront of our minds. So it's shallow, but that gives you the effect of a chisel or a tined implement. The soil gets to open on its own. It's quite shallow. Like that might be maybe 200, 300 mil. But this is the first pass here. So we'll just get Greg, if you want to just go work your way up the paddock and just go where you've been, and we'll see what happens on the second pass. And the white powder on there is gypsum. So when we put that on there a week ago, maybe a week ago. Yeah. Are there any questions on the implement, the tractor, or the soil, or anything at this point? So this is kind of guided by your question. What depth are you aiming for? Well, did you hear that? What depth? That I feel comfortable with is going to take about 6 months.
What's the first crop going to be?
A cover crop, green manure crop.
What are you going to plant?
Party mix.
Party mix.
So
What's it going to be?
we'll come up out of the way of the tractor and I'll answer that. So when you mean green manure, you're talking about like putting nitrogen stuff in the soil and
Yeah.
So we grow. I'll just wait till everyone catches up, but I think most people know what it is.
Oh, the ends.
Does everybody know what a cover crop is?
Yeah.
Green manure crop? Yeah. Anyone not know? What do you know? We've been talking about it. Anyway, so it's a crop that you grow to stimulate the soil. And it's a combination of getting organic matter in there, nitrogen fixation to get nitrogen in there, to build soil structure, to break the pattern. You can do so much with the cover crop, customised to what you're doing and on the soil type that you have. So, for example, this is heavy. We want to get organic matter in there. We're growing European vegetables, we want nitrogen in there. So whether it's heavy or really sandy, you're going to benefit from organic matter. And the best way to get deep organic matter is cover cropping and green manuring. So you're composting in situ. So you can put compost on till the cows come home, but you can't get it down 300 or 400 mil. So you grow plants to get that depth. You get rid of those, they'll break down, and that's how you get deep compost. And it's how you build structure. Is anyone unfamiliar with the benefits of organic matter in soil? Everyone kind of knows the benefits of that? Yeah. So that's how we achieve it, is with a green manure or cover crop. And this is not a new thing. This has been done for centuries. So we're kind of, everything's been kind of intercepted with a soil system. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and so we haven't always had large volumes of animal manure to fertilise gardens. So when that wasn't available, what did people do to put manure on the garden? It was green manure. So you grow it. But what it does is it also takes production out of your system for at least 3 to 4 months a year. And that's when you have commitment to the soil. So we're only going to grow 2 cash crops, maybe 3 sneaky ones like light feeders, and then it's cover crop again. And that's the year done. But this is the beginning. A lot of people think cover cropping is the end, but it's the beginning. This will set up next winter. If you guys come back, you can go, oh, how'd that cover crop go? And we say, oh yeah, it grew well, and then you'll see the representation in the crop following the cover crop. That's how you know. Instead of vice versa, when we work it, and then it's like, it becomes fatigued, and then we start cover cropping. It's like, shit, I'm kind of behind 8 ball now. I've only met one gardener in all my time talking about gardens. He cover cropped for 2 years, old horse paddocks, to grow a market garden. So he grew cover crops for 2 years, and he's been on the same patch for 15 to 20 years. No fertilisers, no manure. He still keeps cover cropping to this day.
Every year?
Yep. So what we're doing is we've become at the centre of the system. We're not dictating what happens in the garden, we're working with it. It's a really different model. Yeah, so you have to use seasonal because otherwise the plants will bolt early, we won't get that mass. So we've just got a custom mix from the seed company here. It's the wrong season, it's got nitrogen fixes, it's got bulk organic matter. Yeah, so it's customised for your system.
It's got sunflowers in it, but I can't
well, I get you guys to move out of the ants nest.
Can't tell me you can't let any of them go to flower.
Among the cow, they may, but we paid about $100 for half an acre. And these farm agronomy. And we talked about they deal with massive companies. Don't really give you that. They told me everything's done, they put this magic potion on and everything. Okay, cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
And where did you get it from? Sorry?
Farm agronomy.
Farm agronomy.
Well, the place, it's in Queensland, it's called, not worse up there.
Yeah. But a note on that, the reason we went to them is because we wanted to blend.
Yeah.
If you just want a couple of different seeds, the drawback with the local guys, they have them and they have the inoculant, but they're 25 kilo bags.
Right.
So we only bought 8 kilos all up.
Yeah, and there's like, what, 15 varieties or something
Yeah.
like that?
So that whole area, about 8 kilos?
So,
Half an acre.
yeah. So that's enough to do this. This isn't normal agriculture in their mind. This is like hobby farming or something around whatever. That's okay. But there are some people that will be really generous with their time and their resources. It's just a matter of finding it. If everyone, if you guys all compaction, and we put some gypsum on for calcium. I only work with rock dust. basically just rock dust. Does that kind of answer your question? So you can kind of feel what may grow based on the test you've done, or you can try and kind of guide it into the direction you want it to go to grow what you want to grow.
Once the green manure crop has, like, you know, when you're ready to cut it, do you mow it? Do you factor it in? Do you mix it in?
Yep.
Or go to your farm? Or...
Yeah, that's a really good question because it can be a little bit overwhelming. Now you've got all this, what would look like around the base of the tree, or maybe double. And it's like, whoa, okay, how do I get a garden out of that? So we're kind of back to square one. So this was very grateful, mown by Dion's mum on the ride on, and she cut all the grass down, and that's why there's this. So that's what that is. So that's organic matter, you're banking that. So it needs to be cut down, and then it will repeat the chisel plough. And
Or
this,
after you mow the green manure?
yep. So you cut it first, and then you open it again with the chisel plough, and the chisel plough is really passive. So
When
it
you
takes
say
time.
cut it, Kyla, you talk about slashing it and then mowing it? Like you want it really low? Or slashing it
Personally-
enough?
Yeah, personally, I'll use a flail mower because it cuts.
Okay, yeah.
And lasher, it'll put little windrows there. So I've got a flail mower on my little tractor that I prefer to use. That just cuts it and it leaves it behind. And you see, it just leaves this. It leaves like a matting of cut grass behind the flail mower. It spins on a cylinder and it's got these hammers that just smash everything. A whole lot of frogs and everything.
I've got another question. So obviously
Terrible.
this land is sloping.
Yeah.
So were you just going backwards and forwards that way? Would you just in preparation for the soil go up and down as well, or just in
Some
one
people,
direction?
yeah, some people just go through the whole thing and just cut it up. I don't know, I'm getting a little bit more relaxed about all that, and I'm happy to just work with the contours, but it's your own thing. This is just
there's
an
no
example
rule.
of what to do, and this is the way I've decided to do things. But these, we've done here one on this patch as well, and that's a soil type test.
It looks different, so different from ours.
Yeah, doesn't it?
And ours is rock solid, like
Yeah.
crazy.
Ours looks like orange paint.
So what we've done is got a handful of dirt and put it in the jar and then filled it with water and shaken the buggery out of it, and it'll separate everything, and then you let it settle, and that might take a day or two. It's a bit cloudy, but it was clear, wasn't it?
It was clear, it was just the bumps in the road.
Yeah.
And it's got little plants growing inside now.
So,
Let it sit for a week.
and so what you can do to determine your soil type test is you measure this overall height. It's basic maths. And then you measure, I'll pass this around, you'll see the layers, and you measure the percentages of those layers. And then there's a matrix thing that'll tell you based on those percentages what your soil type is, and it could be, what was it? This was loamy sand,
What did I tell you?
sandy loam, or
Wallam country.
Sandy loam.
Bandicoot country.
Sandy loam.
Bandicoot country. So I'll pass that, oh you guys have seen it, I'll pass that around, and that's one test you can do about your garden to understand the soil type. This one, what do we, this this one, loamy clay.
Soil. It's a test, so you know what kind of soil you got. You shake it up and you leave it, and then you find out what percentages you've got, and you can look it up on a chart and you find out how much, what kind of soil you have.
Yeah.
You should be doing that for your place.
Yeah.
Get on it. Funny.
I think there's a lot of downside to red soil too.
Yeah.
It leaches a lot quicker. Yeah. And that's a small one, but yeah.
And it sticks on your shoes and your hands.
That doesn't, but yeah, this one's high. And so we've got a real high level of magnesium in this clay soil. So we never want to add that here.
That one you can see better.
We just want to add
Yeah.
diamonds.
That's another one. That's off the same block.
We're struggling with that a little bit
Yeah.
at the moment.
It's Charlie.
So you look at the percentages and you've got a little chart that you look at, is that right?
I've left it in my bag up the top, but it's online. I can soil
it?
type test, and then it'll have how to do the test and the chart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell you?
Tells you what your
see
soil
those
type
logos.
is.
Oh, yeah.
So that gives you like, it narrows down so much when you want
About
to start
what you
working
can
on it.
grow.
Yeah. And what you need to do to grow things that may not want to naturally grow there.
Yeah.
So it basically makes it like layer. Imagine stacking tiles.
Very, very technical.
Yeah.
Jar
Suppose
is
what
Yes.
sort of weeds
We don't know.
grow gives you a clue too, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
totally. Yeah, you can look at weed books and yeah, they're really helpful.
That Kaluna pea's fairly cheap around here, huh?
Is it?
Cowpea, yeah.
Or cowpea? Yeah, that might be in there.
Yeah?
Maybe.
Exactly
Yeah.
what you were saying, the cake is sticking, it's getting
Yeah,
heavier.
this is it.
It wouldn't come all.
That it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so buy in bulk. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, it'll save everyone money.
Might grow a car to plant that, huh?
Soil type test with is a pH test. And can we do one of these? Yeah, we'll do one of these here. And would you be able to grab a probe?
What
The
kind?
pH probe?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And Dion uses just a pH tester probe. And we'll just stick it in the soil. So you've got this is your pH test, you've got your soil type test, and you can do a drainage test. You dig a hole, fill it with water, and when it drains out, refill the hole with water, and see how long it takes to drain.
That's the second one?
Yeah, because you want to make sure it's wet, then it's all wet, and then you refill it again, and that'll give you an idea of the drainage. So then you've got three little simple tests to get you off on the right foot.
Down, huh?
So can you repeat, sorry, that water thing, so how deep you do the drainage?
Oh, the depth, really good question, thank you. So with cover cropping, because we're doing broccoli here, I'm not going to put any brassicas in the cover crop. Does that make sense? So if we were growing silver beet, you wouldn't put chanapods in what's the family name for silver beet. You wouldn't put beetroot seed in your cover crop if you're going to grow beetroot. So brassicas do have their role in cover crop mixes, but because the focus point here is broccoli and the sitting of it, we're not going to put brassicas in the mix. That's a really good question, yeah. Does that make sense? So depending on what you're growing, you'll customise your cover crop mix to the soil type, and what it needs and what you're growing. So there's a few factors in cover crop, like Eden Seeds and Green Harvest, they all do great generic green manure seeds, but I love it. I love cover cropping because it's so integral. So I nut out on it. You don't have to, you can just go and buy some green manure mix somewhere and put it out.
Yeah,
Earthworm mix.
Boondy does an earthworm mix that I had them create based on Ian Sate from Nutritech Solutions from the Cover Crop Cowboys, and that's got 20 seeds from the 5 families. And she does it, I think she does a kilo for $25, but it's based on that ideal mix. So that's got a little bit of brassica and chenopod, less than 4% though.
Because I know the winter one has brassica, mustards in them, so you wouldn't put mustard in.
And what else are we going to put on?
Because it doesn't change the pH. We were going to add, Kyle was going to add lime, but then he freaked out because he saw the pH. It's at 6.8, and so
Wood? Oh yeah, this is.
that's what they
Won't even
is
tell
what
you
they
what
give
that
you when
is.
you go and have an X-ray. You got to drink that.
Oh really?
Or CT, right? And then your radioactive.
So that's a dye. You see, tip that on your little bit of soil and give it a mush around so it turns into a paste, and then you sprinkle that with a bit of powder. But this is where you get the results. Well, this is going to be fun. So there's the colours that we're trying to match on the soil. Well, no, look at this. Look, it's in the greens.
Yeah. Wow.
You're going to hold that up in the sun.
That's nice.
So you can kind of see somewhere, it's kind of maybe around there. Did you bring the probe? Oh, there's the probe. So it was just around here somewhere. So
Where's that ball of
5, somewhere there. 5 and 5.5,
might not be wet enough.
which is a little bit acidic. So maybe we could put lime on that.
This is saying 6.5.
Yeah, and that's what it said the other day.
I think
So-
that's more accurate than maybe something like that. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know either. But that's a big difference. 6.5 to potentially 5.
So somebody's not working properly.
Yeah.
Get a bit more of that.
This has to be fairly wet, and it might not be wet enough, but it's not.
Yeah, this is the joy of working with soil.
Yes.
So, yeah, totally. So a little bit of guesswork. So for me, this reaffirms the importance of cover cropping before planting. So you could still get a mix of your older veggie seeds. We could make just a small bed or a small square somewhere and just get veggie seeds and sprinkle it out and just sit back and watch and see what grows. like beans pump. Okay, let's just grow beans this year. You know how you said, what can I grow straight in it? Just throw some seed in and watch it. Observation is the best tool. Yeah, so it depends on your time frame, and that's what happens when we're overworking soil or ourselves or a system. We don't take that time to observe, you know. So underrated. And you know, this is the time of day, even the next half hour is the time to come down to your garden with a drink or whatever your partner, and just come down and you watch and you look. That's how you learn, you know. We get a bit wrapped up in work, and particularly as commercial growers. Is that enough? We're probably at an hour of monologue. We are. Is there any questions? Because if there's questions, I'm happy to answer them, because you guys really have a good opportunity here to see two systems side by side in very similar soil. And if you're looking to do anything similar, you've got two systems to take information from. But we might do something in like a month, and then you guys can see. We'll take some photos and stuff, but you'll see that that will be green manure by then.
So what's the plan? You're gonna dig it in again a couple more times?
Yeah, because we have to get it to some kind of plantable. This stuff needs to go. Yeah. So it needs to be taken over again.
So you plough it a couple more times and then do the green.
Yeah, I'd like to see Greg go over it one more time with that. And then what we're going to do, that chisel plough has spring tines, so they've got a coil in them. They're not rigid like those ones on it. And they kind of kick back, they give. And we could put 3 or 4 tines on that, and it'll just be to move this grass around so it doesn't reset. Once it's pulled up, that just needs to be moved. There's only a couple of roots holding that. And that'll be enough to kill it, and it'll all rot down.
And you want to put the remainder of because you've only put gypsum down, right?
Yeah.
You want to put the remainder of the amendments on before the rock dust, before we do that other till, because you want to incorporate those in, don't you?
Yeah, got to incorporate the rock dust, and then this at some point will be dead and bare to sow in, or close to.
And when do you do the BD500? Is that when you're making the bed?
BD500 comes with, it works with the soil and root activity. So as soon as I see germination in the green manure mix, maybe there's going to be different crops. So maybe a week after the first sign of germination, I'll put it out then.
Is that the one where you have to mix it one way and mix it the other way and make sure there's a water?
Yeah.
400 times or something.
Yeah. You've got to stir it for an hour non-stop.
For an hour, that's the one.
Yeah, I love it. So
Tom
good.
talked a lot about
It's like making a risotto.
So is, so hypnotic. So yeah, and you know, if people are interested in biodynamics specifically, I'm not an educator at all. I just love it. But if you want to come and just see how I apply BD and the stirring, like you guys can hang around and chat and I'll just stir. No one else touches it. Sorry, I need to watch. Yeah, they do have like social stirring in some groups, but there's a lot of people that say no, that it just get on and do it properly. And there's a lot of kind of science and alchemy involved in that. But
with the planting of the cover crop though, does that matter with regards to the moon cycle? Because you are going to put that in.
Yeah, well, moon energy has, there's a little bit in moon energy, but typically, to break it down simply, leading up to a full moon is a really vital period. There's a lot of sappy.
Oh, you con for...
I'm going to see what Kyle's got to say about this farming, though. All right. He'd be right then.
Block it from army.
Oh, big cat. Trời ơi, nhìn con mèo nè mọi người. Mập thù lu luôn. Maybe she pregnant. She pregnant, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh, very, very fat.
To the death camp, I think that I think